Welcome back to Maneuvering Music. My name is Carrie Sullivan and I am your host. It's the first episode of season 2, very exciting, and it's just me today. I'm the only one here. I don't have any guests lined up for today because I just kind of wanted to talk. And I'm going to start off by talking about myself a little bit, but I promise it's going to circle back to music. This is an episode about music. I do want to address that I'm not in the best recording circumstances at the moment, but it got to the point where I simply could not put off recording this episode anymore. So I'm in not only a study space in my dorm, but an open study space with no door, and there is a heating unit that is extraordinarily loud. If there's any really loud noises, I'll do my best to cut those out, but if you hear anything, it will not continue. This will be the only episode where that is the case. So yeah, welcome to season 2. This is very exciting. It's been a very long time. I did just kind of abandon you all forever, and I promise that I didn't want to, but it happened. This season is gonna have a lot different format and a lot different tone than last season, and that's just because I did a lot of thinking over winter break, and I thought about how I sort of started to dread almost making episodes, and not like a lot of dread to the point where I didn't do it, because obviously I made a full season, but to the point where I didn't always enjoy making the episodes because I didn't feel like I was being myself. I felt like I was being really professional for the entire first season, which was fine, but nobody really asked me to do that. I just kind of assumed that that's what I needed to do, and I didn't like it. It wasn't me. So I really am gonna go from 1 to 10 being me. So this season is gonna be a lot different in that regard. And I hope it's not too jarring. Maybe it will be at first. But I really think it's going to be a lot more fun. It's going to be a lot more fun to listen to. At least I think so. And I hope you agree. We'll find out. I may adjust as time goes on. But yeah, we'll see. I did want to address that. I'm busy. This semester I am taking 20 credit hours, which is a lot, but not a lot. I've spoken to music majors who take more, but it is on the a lot side of the spectrum. So it has taken me this long to get started. It's taken me this long to get settled in this semester. We're doing our best. I promise I am trying. It's also been hard to find people who want to come on the podcast. I have had to repeat guests several times. I had Maddie and Lauren on several times last season, which I'm not complaining about. I love having them on the show. They're my best friends in real life, and so the conversations we have on the show are real, and I think they're fun. They're fun to record. I think they're fun to listen to. I hope you agree. But I had a hard time finding a lot of variety of people who wanted to come on. I had a lot that I wanted to talk about, but not as many people who really showed interest in being on the podcast. So if you're listening to this and you want to be on the podcast, let me know. Slide in my DMs. I will most certainly schedule a date with you. But I'm hoping to make more plans to not have to rely so much on having guests on the show. I don't think I'll be by myself that often, but I do plan to have Maddie and Lauren on the show more often, potentially even becoming co-hosts at some point. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't have a lot of this planned, but I do have plans for if I can't get any guests. I would love to have guests, but if I can't, I have some things set aside. So I guess that's really all I had to say about the formatting of this season. It is going to be different. I hope that's okay. If it's not, let me know and I will listen to your feedback. Okay, so I know what I wanted to talk about. I did want to talk a little bit about myself, like I said, And I promise this is going to circle back to music. But I don't know if you know this about me, dear listener, but I am an anxious person. I am so anxious all the time. And a lot of the reason why it was hard for me to record episodes last semester is because I'm so anxious. It's hard for me to reach out to people and communicate with people. I mostly rely on people reaching out to me because, I don't know, it makes me anxious to directly talk to people who haven't initiated conversation with me. And I'm working on that, and I'm getting better. I'm medicated to some extent. Something else that I've been dealing with is what I now know as episodic tension headaches. I get very frequent headaches a few times a week, every week, and I have for a long time, a few years now. I originally thought it had been about 10 months, but I've seen some social media evidence from, my memories or whatever that's shown that it's actually gone on for much longer than that. And I finally went to the doctor and I said, hey, I don't think this is normal. And they were like, yeah, it's totally not. You should not be in pain constantly. And so I'm medicated. I am taking a very small dose of an antidepressant, which if you didn't know, can be used to treat headaches, not only migraines, but also tension headaches. And as a bonus, it helps with anxiety. I'm on such a small dose that it's a really negligible change, but I have noticed a difference in my behaviors and my tendencies to not be afraid to take up space. I really am not afraid to take up space right now. I don't know if that's just a phase that I'm going through, but that's kind of what I've been going through. So obviously the headaches were making it hard to really do much of anything, but we've got that under control, sort of. It's getting better. But anxiety still definitely is a concern for me. I had this problem in the last season where I needed everything to be uniform. And this is something that I deal with in all aspects of my life, where if I feel like the way I'm going to do something is not going to be completely uniform across the board, it's not going to be formatted in a way that is going to satisfy me, which sometimes is impossible, I'm going to procrastinate it and I'm not going to do it. An example of this is I have a form to fill out for a competition that I'm trying to do, and the way that they want me to submit my information, which is not only titles of pieces and composers, but also translations, dates, durations of videos, that kind of thing. It's all just in one text box and there's no formatting options. And thinking about that makes me want to claw my eyes out. And it makes me not want to do it because it's not going to look the way I want it to look, even though the way I want it to look is not possible. That was kind of the way that I felt last semester and last season about this podcast. Is I felt so pressured to have every episode be the same format, me saying the same thing at the beginning of every episode, the same thing at the end of every episode, have everything go exactly the same, be exactly the same length. It was just too much, and it made me not want to record episodes, and that was not good because I started to get behind, and I was like, OMG, I have this episode I have to put out on Saturday, and it's now Thursday, and I haven't recorded it yet. Oh, the heater shut up. That's really exciting. And it was just not good. I didn't enjoy that. So I'm going to try to challenge that. I've been trying to challenge my anxiety a lot recently, and that's going to be something I'm going to do. So I'm manifesting this. I'm not afraid for things to not be uniform. This episode is not going to be an hour long, and I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to put it out, and it's going to be good. So that is a lot of the reason why I've been changing up this season and the way that I run this podcast, just to challenge myself and to make things a little bit less monotonous and take a little bit of the pressure off of having to do the same thing every week. So I am going to start talking about music, but I did want to talk about that a little bit just to preface why this season is looking the way it is, why it's sounding the way it is, and kind of what I want to talk about in terms of music, which is some things that I've learned about myself in the past few weeks that I kind of want to pass on because they're pretty big revelations that I've just made. I feel like pretty much ever since the beginning of quarantine last March, so almost a year, at the beginning of quarantine, I had been going to counseling at that time for anxiety, and obviously I had to stop because everything shut down. I could have continued on with telehealth, but it didn't work out. So I stopped going to counseling, and pretty much immediately I had a big revelation about why I think the way I think. And after that, it just sort of was like a domino effect of me learning things about myself and me actually thinking about my personal life and trying to figure myself out. And in that way, I've been making a lot more sense to myself, and areas where I previously felt deficient or lost or like I was the only one who was confused about this particular thing, they've started to clear up and they've started to make sense to me. And I want to pass some of that on to you because some of that has been related to music. And just to sum up the first thing I want to talk about, I want to say that something that I've realized is that I am carving my own path in terms of music, and I'm not afraid of that. And that sounds so basic, but it really isn't. And I want to kind of tell a story about that. So something else you should know about me is I love like tarot cards and like crystals. Like I'm that kind of white girl. And Lauren shares this interest with me. Lauren and I give each other tarot readings every so often, and she gave me one that basically was like, you are doubting yourself in carving your own path, in terms of your spirituality and your practice. And that's something that I'm not going to get into on this podcast. But what it made me realize is that in my music career, I actually have been carving my own path without really realizing it, and I'm not afraid of that. It's hard for me to carve my own path in other aspects of my life, but in music, I've been doing it, and I've been doing it proudly without even realizing it. A lot of people who are going into vocal music, so, people in college, feel like following a traditional path is the only way to go. So I would say the vast majority of people, that's just a guess. I haven't actually talked to everybody. The vast majority of people, I feel like, that are in a vocal music program in college are thinking, okay, I'm going to finish my undergrad and I'm going to get my bachelor's degree. Then I'm going to go to grad school at Juilliard or whatever, I don't know, and get my grad degree, my master's degree in vocal performance or whatever. And then I'm going to, my end goal is that I'm going to sing at the Met. It's always the Met. I know why, but I don't know why. A lot of people have their sights set on that. And I think it's right for some people. I keep bringing up Lauren, but I know that I've spoken to Lauren directly about this, and that path is what she feels is right for her. The programming that they put on at the Met typically is sort of classic repertory, Mozart and Strauss and whatever the hell. Can I say hell on this podcast? Well, I just did. I don't care. It's my podcast. I'm going to do what I want. That's for her. That type of music speaks to her, and she doesn't want to go to the Met because it's the Met and it's so famous and famous people sing at the Met. When she visited the Met and saw a show there, she walked in and she felt truly like she was at home. Not antsy, not anxious. She felt like this is where she was supposed to be. And that's her story to tell, really. But I say that because not everybody has that, and I feel like that's okay. That is completely okay. And I don't think everybody really recognizes that. Um, do you really know where you're going as an undergraduate or even a graduate student, but mostly an undergraduate student? Do you know where you're going? You should have some idea. You should be thinking about it, especially as you get into your junior and senior year. But I feel like if you are so certain about where you're going, you're dead set on it, that makes me nervous. I'm nervous for you because we can't predict the future. And if you really feel like you know where you're going, that I think is setting you up for failure because there's a chance that you won't make it where you want to go, where you think that you're destined to go. There's a chance that you won't make it, and having that idea that you are going to go there no matter what, that's what you're going to do, is really just setting yourself up for disappointment and, shutting out any other opportunities that may come your way because they don't match your exact plan that you had for yourself. So I think it's important to keep it open, but at the same time, you kind of have to have an idea of what path you want to go down. And if that's the traditional path, or the traditional, in air quotes, path of graduating grad school, studying, getting better, and eventually singing at the Met. If that's for you, if that speaks to you, then do it. That's your thing. But I think something that is discounted a lot, first of all, other opera houses. Lord have mercy. Like Chicago Lyric, like there's one in Texas that I can't think of. Like there's major opera houses. Even Cincinnati Opera is somewhat of a big deal. There are other places to go than New York City, I promise. Think about foreign countries. Think about how high art, in quotes, is even more appreciated in Europe and in Scandinavian countries than it is in the US. Think about that, first of all. But also, the world of music is changing so rapidly that it can be hard to keep up. First of all, the Met hasn't been paying their musicians. They've been doing these recital series with Anna Netrebko, but they're not paying their in-house orchestra or whatever. That's sus. I don't like that. And I think that type of thing may have a big impact on their business and on their reputation. I know if you go on Facebook and you look at any of their posts promoting any events that they're doing, the comments are full of people like, pay your musicians, Met. What are you doing? This is ridiculous. You're hiring foreign singers when you're not paying the singers and the instrumentalists who work for you in this country. I think that's going to hurt them. But also, if you just think about the last year, digital performances have been taking over the scene because there's nothing else that can be done. And the way that we carry out those digital performances is changing all the time. So we started off, live streaming on YouTube, or like making a video and posting it on YouTube, or doing like some Zoom thing. But new platforms are starting to come up, and places are like creating their own streaming sites and their own streaming services that house these online performances. And that's kind of a more obvious thing that's been happening. But also, if you really think about it, some people more than others, but many people have been stuck indoors for a year, not really able to do anything, not able to perform. And that leaves more time for composition. I really, truly believe that as soon as this is over, we're going to have a renaissance of the arts. It happened after the Black Plague, with the actual, like the original Renaissance. And it happened after the Spanish flu with the 1920s, and sort of a revitalization of culture and of art. I really, truly think that once this is over, we are going to have a big renaissance of art. And what that is going to include is people who have been writing music this whole time releasing that music and being able to perform it and have it listened to and seen by others, but also people being inspired by that and writing new music on top of that. I really think that we have a big opportunity during this pandemic and afterward to completely change what performing arts is, not only in this country, but across the world. And so that means that contemporary music is going to take more of a front seat. And, contemporary music is not for everyone, of course. Classical music is for some. Some people prefer Baroque, any period of music, whatever. Some people don't like contemporary music, fine. If it's not for you, fine. But you can't deny that the signs of it being ready to take over are really big and really clear, if you really think about it. If the traditional path is for you, good. That's good. You should take that path because it's for you. But you have to know that. You have to know that that's for you. I see a lot of people really just assuming that path because they think it's really all that's out there. But what I want to say is, for the vast majority of people, the Metropolitan Opera is not the future. The future of music lies in the modern time. Those people who are at home composing right now with nothing else to do, and the people who are going to compose in the next 10 years or so, that's where the future of music lies. So for me personally, I, of course, perform classical music. I perform, arias that everybody knows, as a music student. That's kind of comes with the territory. And as a musician, if you want to make money, I don't, it's different now, obviously. But in the last forever, if you want to make money, you sing the Messiah at Christmas, and you go and you sing the roles in the Mozart operas and the roles in whatever operas they do. I don't know. I know nothing. But what really speaks to me personally is contemporary music. I've gone through periods where I hate it and I never want to sing it, and I just want to sing, Debussy and Schubert all the time. But contemporary music, I keep coming back to it. And I think that I'm here to stay now. I think that's just what's for me. And I've discovered that and just kind of run with it. And I'm not trying to say that I'm, unique because I sing contemporary music and no one else sings it. Oh my gosh. But I know that's for me. I know that's where I'm going. I don't want to go to the Met. That could change, but at this moment in time, I don't have my sights fixed on the Met. I'm not looking at really any major opera house and thinking that's where I want to go. I had a moment where I was like, I need to get out of this country as soon as possible. Obviously, events happened over a period of time. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I'm going to go to Italy and I'm going to sing in Italy. That would be great, but I don't know that that's realistically where I'm going. I think the path that I'm following is going to involve contemporary music, because, not to toot my own horn, I'm just going to state some facts about me that have been told to me by others. I didn't make this up. I have good aural skills. I used to be an instrumentalist. I have a good ear. I am a highly sensitive person, and therefore I'm sensitive to hearing as well. I have relative pitch. I don't have perfect pitch. I have relative pitch. But that serves me in music that's not exactly tonal, I guess. It's tough. I wish I had perfect pitch for the atonal music. It would be so useful, but I don't. But I feel like I have the ear for it, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. My plan, sort of, I don't really have a plan, but my objective, I suppose, is to use the fact that I can learn contemporary, sometimes atonal music quickly and use that to my advantage and use that to get jobs and to sing at gigs that maybe other people wouldn't want to take or wouldn't be able to take. That's what I'm going to do. I've found my niche. My niche is contemporary music that not only is the music complex, but the narratives I can really dig into. I've been doing a lot of pieces and sets based on Shakespeare, and that's something that I really feel like I can dig into because it's such an old text and it's been around forever. Or even, not even text like brought from Shakespeare, like poems written by someone else in a completely different context that have been sort of labeled, these are songs about this Shakespearean character, and it's poetry written in the 20s. And you're like, okay, where's the connection there? I love that. I can really dig into that. And that's my thing. That's my niche. That's what I'm good at. I can do classical music. I can do Baroque. I can do Romantic. But what I really, really love to do is contemporary music. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with it. Now, if you really love, and I'm going to say it again, if you really love classical music, if that really is something that you can sink your teeth into, then do that. Run with that. But you have to know that. And if you don't know that, I encourage you to experiment. I encourage you to pick up, a piece that was written 20 years ago. I encourage you to pick that up and try it. I encourage you to go all the way back to the Baroque era and look at Handel or, Purcell. I encourage you to really get into that sort of sensuality of the Romantic period. Look at all of it, but don't determine what your path is based on what you think is flashy or what you think you're obligated to do as a singer. Because not only is that not realistic, but it doesn't serve everybody. And for you to spend your musical education and, the first part of your career vying for something that you don't really love or something that's not realistic for you, we only have so much time on this earth and we only have so much time in college. So to spend it doing something that you don't really love, I don't recommend that. And I feel like I can say that as someone who's almost halfway through college. I've been here for long enough. I've done things that I don't like, and I've done things that I've really liked. And the things that I really like make it all worth it, because it's hard out here. And anything that makes it worth it is worth it, if that makes sense. So that was something that was really, really weighing on me, because I hate to see my friends and my colleagues and my peers at other schools doing things that don't serve them. Because not only is it bad for you, emotionally, developmentally, but your listeners can tell. If you're not into it, if you haven't done your narrative research and thought about your piece that you're performing and really sunken your teeth into it, your audience can tell. And I think that all of us have way too much talent and skill to be performing something that our audience can tell that we're not into, if that makes sense. And I feel like I'm just kind of repeating myself, but hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully that encourages you to really think about what you're doing and whether or not you love it. Because if you don't love it, why are you doing it? Because you feel like you have to? You don't. Because you feel like it's going to make you famous? It probably won't if you don't love it. Find your niche. Easier said than done, but find your niche. Talk to your teacher. Talk to your friends. And go for that. The other thing was a little bit more minor, but it was a revelation that I actually had earlier this week that I wanted to talk about. And this also sort of comes from my type A personality and my anxious self. I found that this semester I did not pre-prepare as much as I normally would. Normally I'd have probably all of my repertoire for this semester learned before I even set foot on campus because we have such a long winter break. And so I didn't really do that this year. I was working a lot and excuses, whatever. So I had a lot of catching up to do. I found myself like learning a piece like 3 days before my lesson, which I hate because, I feel like I'm not as learned on it as I want to be. But then I really got into some rep that I found to be really, really interesting. And like there was a lot that I could do with it to make it interesting to the listener. And I suddenly got this burst of energy where I was like, if I had the vocal capacity and the time in my schedule to practice like 5 hours a day, I would. I wanted to. I just couldn't, but I wanted to. And I had a few days where I didn't practice for 5 hours a day. I'm not crazy, nor do I have that much stamina. But I did have a few days where I would sing for like 2 hours at a time. And at the end of that, I looked back on it and I was like, I didn't accomplish anything. I practiced for so long and I feel like I didn't do anything. And that's not new to me. I sort of feel like I've had that for a while. It's just been amplified by me spending more and more time in a practice room actively singing. And I don't know if this is something that anyone else feels, but just in case it is, I do want to talk about it because I had this realization that was like, you can't accomplish anything, in quotes, when you're never done improving. Which sounds like such a basic thing to say, but if you also have a type A personality, you know that most of your sort of satisfaction comes from checking something off your list. And what I want to do is be like, okay, I want to really solidify, I won't even say that. I want to do the IPA for this piece, and I want to do my narrative for this piece. Even making a checklist, I never really felt like I could check anything off that list. I worked on it, but I didn't feel like I did it. And what I realized was so simple. I mean, you're never done improving. You're never going to get to a point where you're like, yeah, this narrative is perfect the way it is. There's nothing that I want to do to change it. I'm going to perform it this exact same way the entire time, every time I perform it. And that's going to be perfect. There's no way I can improve that because that's not possible. Even professional singers, people who have been doing this their whole lives, have reservations about what they're doing and feel like they have room to improve. Everybody has room to improve. Nobody's perfect. And that's something that I'm working on challenging. The thought that accomplishment equals finishing something to never come back to it. What I really have to do is trust my subconscious mind to sort of archive the work that I do. What you'll know if you've ever been a piano player or played piano or tried to improve at piano in the past is that building muscle memory is not something that you can cram. You work on it a little bit one day and then you sleep on it. And then when you come back the next day, it's, 2 times better. And you keep doing that until it becomes muscle memory. And once again, is that ever perfect? No. But it's the same thing with singing. And not just singing, but learning a story to your piece and figuring out how to express your emotions It's muscle memory. Your brain is, I think your brain is your brain a muscle? Who's to say? We're going to say that the brain is a muscle. It's muscle memory, thinking these things while you sing. And sometimes, as you perform a piece more and more, you'll have a realization about the text. And you'll want to change it. And you can. You can change it and make it better, even if you've performed this piece 35,000 times. If you think of something that's better, then do that instead for every other time. But I've really been working on trusting my subconscious mind to be archiving information as I try new things and as I repeat things. And though I may never be able to check something off my list after I've practiced, I can know that I have accomplished something while I practice. And what I've accomplished is practicing and putting more knowledge and more practice into that memory bank. And it's going to open up whenever I perform, and what is going to serve me is going to come out. And I might forget some things, and it might not be perfect, and it never is. But I don't have to feel like I have to do something every time I practice and be able to check something off my list. So I hope that that's not something that just everybody knew. I hope not. That would be embarrassing. But those are just some things I wanted to talk about, just to open up the season. I promise the next several episodes are going to be more engaging and more fun. This one was a little serious, but I just had some things I wanted to get off my mind, get off my chest. An idea that I have going forward is for Maddie and Lauren and I to watch some operas on Lauren's Met Opera on-demand subscription. So they're all going to be Met productions, most likely. But for us to watch an opera or maybe even classical musical theater and then just talk about it. And the way that we talk about things is a little bit crack-headed, but hopefully it will be fun for you guys to listen to. It will be a lot like our previous episodes, a lot of laughs, and a lot of silliness. So hopefully that's good for you. I think it's fun for me, and this is my podcast, so I don't care. I keep saying that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. So that's going to start next week, most likely. And I also have high hopes that very soon we're finally going to be able to announce our MU Opera project for the year. I think technically it's already been announced in some spaces, but we're really still waiting on the green light to be able to talk about it on the podcast and on the MU Opera Instagram. So keep an eye out for that because once we're able to actually talk about that, I have a lot that I want to talk about to do with it because it's a very expansive subject, and there's going to be a lot for us to try and talk about and try and educate people on before they come see the opera, because there's a lot that you need to know before you see our project that we've been working on. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that eventually. But until then, it's probably just going to be content, goofiness, a lot of laughs, and us just enjoying music authentically. Because the professionalism is just not me. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. But it's just not me. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Let's listen to a little bit more of the piece that you heard at the beginning of this episode. And I'll be back in just a few minutes to close us out and give credits to the artists. thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Maneuvering Music. My name is Carrie Sullivan. Once again, I'm your host. The piece that we've been listening to during this episode has been movement number 2, Andante, from Brahms' Sonata for 2 pianos, performed by Neil and Nancy O'Done and distributed by Pandora Records. So we want to thank them so much for allowing the use of their recording in this episode. Once again, thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I'll be back next time with some fun music content.